You are listening to the I Choose My Best Life podcast with Dr. Saundra Dalton-Smith, a show that is dedicated to helping you live fully, love boldly, and rest intentionally. For additional resources, visit ichoosemybestlife.com.
Welcome, everyone. This is Dr. Saundra, and you're listening to I Choose My Best Life. Today, I'm so excited. We are kicking off the new year with a conversation about this question. What happens if you feel like God has chosen the wrong person? What if you've heard something, you feel like he's given you a path, directed you to build something, start something, launch something, but you can't see yourself doing it, and you have no clue where to begin? My guest today has been in your shoes, has walked that journey, and is currently doing some amazing things worldwide. I have joining me today, Jenny Waltman, and she is the founder of Klein Communities here in my state in Alabama. And I'm going to be talking with her about her book, God Chose the Wrong Person, as well as her journey as the founder of this great organization. So, Jenny, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to get a chance to chat with you.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Let's just jump right in. First of all, I don't read bios. I feel like people do a much better job when they're going to put on the spot to share a little bit about themselves. And so I would love for you to begin by sharing a little about who is Grace Klein Ministry. What do you do? How has God been moving in this past year? Give us a kind of the overview of the work that you do, and then we're going to dive into how you got there.
Okay. So Grace Klein Community shares resources, primarily food, to build relationships with people, because we are hoping that God will not only restore us to himself, but also restore individuals, families, and entire communities. And it all takes relationship. So when we share resources, it's primarily food, as I mentioned, and we've served over 712,000 people in 2025 so far. So that's crazy. That's just counting them one time and being able to meet that basic need and then get to know them, share the hope of Jesus, pray with them. We also share diapers and wipes, school supplies, Christmas, other needs, and offer Bible studies and community events to just help people build relationships with one another.
Now I want you to share that number again.
715,000 people.
Now, hear what she just said. It's 3/4 of a million people. This is one woman's yes. I want you to keep that in the back of your mind as we should talk about this conversation on God Chose the Wrong Person. Why did you choose that title for your book?
I don't know if you feel it, but I've always gotten overwhelmed whenever I'm walking on a certain path and I think, oh God, you've chosen the wrong person. You feel like Moses or different people in the Bible that you think, oh, if they can do it, then maybe I can still obey God and do it. I'm looking for the burning bush. Where's the ram in the bush? When you think about all those stories, but for me, I chose it because I definitely felt like the wrong person. Here I am overseeing an organization this year with an in-kind and cash budget of $34 million. I don't know what I'm doing. How am I the right person? And then God showed me, no, I choose the wrong people in quotes so that I can make you the right person.
I think this is what's always really impressed me about you. Jenny and I met really in a bizarre way. I was speaking at an event. She was attending the event. Neither of us were in our normal home location, which literally are down the street from each other. We were very close in proximity, but didn't know much about each other. We were about an hour apart. And so we both had to drive about 6 hours somewhere else to actually meet. And I presented whatever I was sharing at that time. And then she reached back out to me a couple of years later, introducing her organization to me. And I think it's really interesting in that when you step into these moments that you're mentioning, Jenny, you do feel like, how is this possible? But now I'm seeing you after you've walked through a lot of this. You're now maybe comfortable is not the word. You've come to a place of trusting God at such a level that it doesn't frighten you when he calls you into these more moments or this greater level of stewardship. what was part of the journey, of part of the walk to get there? Tell me, like, let's go back many years. Let's go back to maybe the first 5 years of Grace Klein. What did that look like for you?
I think learning how to live by faith was very difficult for me. I did not understand the righteous shall live by faith. And if you shrink back, I will not be pleased with you. It's right before the Hebrews 11 chapter of all the heroes of the faith. And that was traumatic for me because I had traced the American dream. I was going for it. I was doing everything from my capacity. And I didn't understand that we have to operate from Jesus' capacity and that our confidence comes from Jesus. And from that competence, we become confident in Jesus. And that was so wrecking for me. Literally, the first 6 years, I was a nervous wreck. I was anxious all the time. I had anxiety trusting God. And that was just my humanity and being afraid, like, God, I'm not the right person. What are you doing? I can't believe you're this big. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to have faith like this. And he was wanting me to depend on him and learn how to wake up every morning and say, okay, Jesus, this is not about Jenny. This is about you. So here's my life again. I give it back to you again. This morning is new life that I want to take the interruptions you give me. I want to be ready and obedient in the path that you called me. And I want to trust you and I don't want to be afraid. And even if I'm afraid, I'm going to walk shaking in my boots and obey you.
I think your first chapter goes so well into that. This chapter on what about me mindset and shifting from that, how am I going to do this? What do I need to do? And really turning your attention in a different way. And you stated that this was part of a refining fire season for you. Tell us more.
So we had been in a construction company that went horribly wrong with some partners and we lost $400,000. We had built a house in historic Forest Park in downtown Birmingham, Alabama area. The economy crashed right when we finished it. And we had also lost all of that money. So here we are with this $500,000 house. We have one car. We have very little money and we're on food stamps. And our child is known for an inner city school. So everything felt pressed. I didn't really know where I fit in. Was I upper class? I lived in a $500,000 house. Was I lower class? My kid went to inner city school and I was on food stamps. Was I middle class? Those people were terrified of me. They didn't want anything to do with me because my kid was in inner city school and I lived in a house that may have been nicer than some of their homes. So it was a very pressing season. Do I believe God? Do I believe that he can take care of me and that I can walk in obedience to him? And who am I going to be friends with? And I had to learn. I fit into all those socioeconomic classes and I got to embrace all of it and just go for it.
I think that probably a lot of people can really relate to that right now. This, whether you say we're in a recession or however you want to define it, everyone seems to define it differently. I think a lot of people can relate to that level of pressure in that trying to figure out, where do I fit? Even as you mentioned, your child being in an inner city school, trying to figure out our identity based on our surroundings, the things that we have, the things other people have, kind of looking at some of those things. How did you move past that into a level of confidence? As you mentioned, it's a God confidence, but it creates within each of us, that God confidence, a level of boldness and belonging. Because you stop trying to fit in and you simply look for ways that you can be a blessing and you can show up authentically and you can be transparent. How did you make that shift over to that area?
I think knowing that people love authenticity and I don't have to fake it to make it. We're told that fake it to make it, fake it to make it. Well, I can actually just be me. I can show up and be genuine. I can be anxious and just shake and talk. And I used to speak shake, which was crazy, but I just obeyed God. And I think just taking the next step, I remember in the word, it says that Jesus gives us enough light for the step that we're on, but we're cursed with light our own cisterns and run ahead. And God was showing me, Jenny, slow down. Today, I have enough light for you. Today, I'm going to give you enough food to feed your kids. Today, I'm going to give you enough courage to talk to this neighbor or to talk to this mom at school that might be different than you because she's a lot younger than you, but you can relate to her. And so each one of those steps helped me to realize, okay, he's going to equip me for this next step. I have enough light. I don't have to be afraid. And even if I am afraid, that his love over me will be my strength. So that joy of the Lord is your strength in Nehemiah is so true, because the more joy that I could tap into and the more gratitude that I could have, the more that I could be alive in who I was authentically made to be as a child of Christ, as a daughter of the King. But I think I had to learn how to see the good in everything and live in that grateful space of what's awesome today. No matter how bad it is, it's not all bad. What is the good? And that allowed me to keep walking forward.
I think for myself, one of the things as far as taking steps of faith with God, you mentioned having to trust and going through the refiner's fire. I think we have to realize that most of us, we are not at the level of stepping into our trust until we're ready to deal with what is keeping us from trusting. Like whatever those fears, those anxieties are, whatever those past disappointments, whatever those past hurts, the things that tend to come up against our desire to trust, we have to be real with people and with Him. And I think sometimes we're afraid to even say, God, this feels too big. I'm scared. I don't know how this is going to happen. I think because if we look at the word, I love how in the Bible, people say what they meant. Moses is, I'm not the one who can speak. Did you hear me? You know, this mouth that I can't speak. They said what they felt, and they were open to receive God's view of them. How has God changed? How has God shown you His view of who He's created you to be now compared to who you were stepping into it?
Yeah. So I was a very shy, reserved person because my natural state is just introverted person I'm going to sit back and I think that one thing I really love in the word is where it talks about that the dross comes to this top and then it's scraped off and then you're refined as silver and purified as gold. And that dross is all that junk in us. And we have to be exposed to ourselves. And so being able to be exposed is like, oh, you're shy because you're inadequate. You think you're inadequate. You believe these lies that are true. This is who I made you to be, Jenny. Like, you are a treasure. I created you. I knit you together in your mother's womb. I gave you all these gifts, these abilities, and you're relatable to people. You fed your kids with food stamps. You can relate to people. Why? Don't hide that. Be open with that because it might set somebody else free. Where I had anxiety from 2006 until 2020. What? That's a long time, 14 years of anxiety every day, trusting, am I going to be able to breathe? Am I going to be able to move forward? But that was teaching me dependence on Him. And so in my being exposed to myself, then I realized if I don't have God, I can't move this needle. I can't go forward. And He was really helping me to see, oh, there is a wall of fire around me and there is glory in my midst. I have access to that. And all of us do.
And I want to go into that because one of the things you say is that we have to rest in the generosity of God. And I don't believe, because so many of us have had lacking experiences or times when we felt like we didn't have enough, we can struggle with resting in His generosity. Where are you seeing people really have to battle with this? And are there any steps or any maybe with something from the word that has helped you to move forward in this area?
So I think we have to turn everything upside down on its head and how we see it from a cultural standpoint to how does God see it and view it? Because you think about Christmas. Okay, Christmas morning, culturally, we think we're supposed to have all these gifts under the tree. It's supposed to be this big experience where our kids feel loved and valued. But it doesn't have to look like the American way says it has to look. Like my kids this year were like, can we just please not do any stuff? Can we just be together? Can we have a meal together? Can we spend time together? Can we give gift of presents to each other? And let's just put that money that we would have spent at Christmas or we can save up for and let's go on a vacation together later to, again, have quality time, to love each other in the spaces where we feel valuable, where we can go to a museum where Denver loves history. We can go experience a different culture of food that Amelia Grace loves. So we can value each other. And I think laying down our lives for each other is so important because when we realize if we don't have preferences and expectations, everything is good. Dr. Saundra, everything is good. I always think about that. Like when we die to ourselves to follow Jesus, then we don't have preferences anymore. Dead people don't care what color the walls are painted. Dead people don't care. And so everything's good. And I'm talking about dead in a beautiful way. That Jesus says that unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, then it produces only one seed. But if it dies, then it produces many seeds. And I think in America and cultural Christianity, we can live to produce the one seed because we don't want to die. Because people don't tell us that the abundant life of Jesus is waiting for us on the other side of us dying to myself. If I will die to my selfishness, to my wills, to my control, if I will let all that go, then the abundant life that Jesus came to give us is right there. And so we're always on this hunt for where's the abundant life, but we're blocking it because we're not willing to die. So letting
So good.
that control go, woo, he has set you free, and then everything's so great, and it sets your spouse free because now Jason doesn't have to plan a Thursday night date night. I don't have an expectation of that. I just have expectation to love me, take me out sometime. So then when he finds something fun, an art gallery that he knows I would love, or a festival and go on a hayride and take all the kids, then he knows I'm going to love it. And then it's special. So it's all like a cherry on top. It's all the icing on the cake because you're not having this expectation or preference of meet me. It's that going back to that. What about me? What about me? Because it's not about us. And then it just sets you free into a life that I have such a joyous life. I love every part of it, even when it's hard, because those expectations actually trap us. And it makes our relationships tense because we put stuff on humans that's not fair to put on each other. Like we need to go to God and say, God, just what is the desires of my heart? You give it to me. The Bible says that he will give you the desires of your heart. I realized like reading that one day, I was like, oh, like your desires go in my heart. It's not about me. It's about what you have for me. And his desires are better than what I could imagine. I would have never picked this. If you had told me what I was going to be doing all the way, I'd have been scared. I wouldn't have even done it. But Jesus put these desires in my heart that he's fulfilling because I'm walking in obedience to him.
And I think that's so important because we want to know. I can stop right there. We want to know how the details, the specifics. I think so many of us, the way we control our trust and the way we try to manipulate trust in some way is in our desire to know. Because do I really need to trust God if I feel like I know what's coming? If I feel like I know all the next steps, if I feel like, oh, I see what God's doing, where's the trust really in that if you already can fully grab it yourself without having to have any faith applied to it? And so that dying to self requires most of us to have to die to our desire to even know and understand what God's doing. And I love that's something that you actually say in your book in chapter or on page 36. You say, thank goodness I had no idea where God would take us, or I may have been too afraid to go. And I believe that's the truth for most people. We want to know the details, but in God's grace towards us, he actually doesn't give us the details. He gives us himself. He gives us an opportunity to get to know him in a new way, in a deeper level of trust. And so now as you are walking in this higher level of stewardship and trusting God, what would you say is your chapter 11, you title it The Secret Sauce. I think everybody who sees someone at any level of success thinks there is some secret sauce. Give me the secret sauce so I can replicate what you did. I'd love to hear what you say about that.
Yeah, so I think you picture like having this hot sauce, but it's actually Jesus. And you're just bringing your hot sauce in your purse and you're ready and you're remembering Jesus in all the moments. Because I think we can be like, oh, we spent time with Jesus for 15 minutes this morning. It was awesome. I learned this in the word, but then we can start running the day in Jenny, in ourselves. And remembering that secret sauce is, no, what does Jesus have for this moment with this friend? Our pest control guy just came by earlier. What is that interruption? How can I give him some secret sauce that can make his life better, that it can taste better? that he can be a better husband to his new wife, that he can be a better business owner. So you're carrying that around and just remembering that. And especially for parents, like as a parent, I realized I can't do anything. I can't convince these little humans to do what I say. I can't convince them to believe anything, to learn anything. Only Jesus can transform a person's life. And as a parent, I think we can try to manipulate and control our children sometimes, or I don't know. I think it's a risk. But that secret sauce is no, we give you Jesus. So if you want to have long hair, if you want to go to Thailand, go. If you want to go and work in Gettysburg at a museum, go. So you allow them to walk with Jesus and just hand them the sauce. Don't forget this. Because if Jesus is there, you're safe. And then we as parents have to let them go and trust them with that sauce. And I think that's what we give to our clients, to our friends, to our church members that we go to church with, to anybody that interacts with us. We have got to give them Jesus, because who cares what Jenny thinks? But if I can give you some of Jesus, that's going to stick, and that's going to help your day taste so good.
I love it. Jesus is the secret sauce. This book I know was written in memory of someone. So what is the story behind Pops?
Yeah, so Pops was my father-in-law, and he was a railroad man, worked his way up to VP, and he just really thought we were crazy. Whenever he moved to Birmingham to retire, what are y'all doing helping all these people? The first time that we were helping at somebody's house painting and had a bunch of volunteers, he literally pulled out the lawn chair, threw it on the ground, one for himself, one for my mother-in-law, said, "We came here to watch the show." I'm like, okay. And I watched his life transform in his retirement years as he started to experience Jesus. He started to serve alongside people in the community. He started to give his life away and his skills and teach young men how to be good husbands and good fathers. And he's just such an inspiration to why we do what we do, because every person has so much in them to give. And he didn't even realize that he had all that to give, because he had just been a businessman and investing in that lane, and didn't realize he could do that with regular people along life's way. And so his life just blossomed, and he just became so alive in his faith and dependence on Jesus. So just having him die is just so sad. He died during COVID unexpectedly, not from COVID, but from immune deficiency issues. But just really wanting to honor him and his life. And just the fact that just because you may be in the latter years of life doesn't mean they can't be your best years, because he really proved his best years.
Amen. We've been chatting with Jenny Waltman. She's the author of the book, God Chose the Wrong Person, and the founder of Grace Klein Community. So, Jenny, I want to make sure people know how to connect with you, how to get a copy of your book, and how to help support Grace Klein, because I know there's a lot of activities that you guys are doing, not only here in the Birmingham, Alabama area, but also throughout the country and throughout the world, actually, even in Africa and other areas. So share with us a little bit about how people can connect and how they can support.
Yeah, so go to gracekleincommunity.com and check us out on our website. Also, just make sure to follow us on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, Grace Klein Community, and just watch the unfolding story that Jesus is writing. This is truly not about us. It's all about Jesus and the radical work that he can do with ordinary, regular people, because that's who he chooses. So that whenever something great is accomplished and you look at me, I'm spazzy, I'm awkward, you're like, she didn't do it, but God did it. And that's amazing.
I got to tell you, Jenny, you're one of my favorite people. I just love the way you represent Christ. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Love you.
Until next time, everyone, live fully, love boldly, and rest intentionally. How can you keep your energy, happiness, creativity, and relationships fresh and thriving in the midst of never-ending family demands, career pressures, and the stress of everyday life? Learn about best-selling book Sacred Rest and discover the 7 types of rest you need most by visiting restquiz.com.